Hello, and welcome to the Kyle Phoenix Show. As always, I'm your host, Kyle Phoenix. As you can see, what I am trying to do, try to adjust it ever so slightly. I am trying to take episodes or segments of episodes, because I've been doing smaller and smaller segments and including other things like PowerPoint presentations and YouTube videos and videos of my own creation, incorporating that into the show, trying to bring in some faces and some interviews and stuff. So, as you can see, I am taping from what I consider, well, the world's messiest home office. This is, I think a couple of shows ago, I said that I was going to try and tape more and more in here than actually at the studio, and then do some more stuff on location. So you can see part of it, I did change things around a little bit, where I'm trying to assemble a lot of bookcases. I have a lot of books. And then pull them all together. So I'm basically covering almost all four walls, or three walls, or bookcases over here now that I put up, and maybe next episode I'll film this way, so you can see those. There are bookcases up there that the camera is on, and then there are bookcases in an L around me that the various computers are at. It's just more comfortable to sit over here, and as well to bring you a little bit into the space that I kind of mentally work from. And this is the space that I mentally work from. So what we were talking about development and how to develop oneself. And I get lots of emails. I get all of your emails, in fact. Sometimes I have some of my students or my interns help me sort through them, because there are so many different places that it comes to the Kyle Phoenix website, to the Kyle Phoenix Facebook pages. There is a Facebook page for myself personally. There are Facebook pages for each one of my books. There's one for the television show. There's soon going to be one for the radio show that we're working on. So there are lots of different areas that I have different people helping me with, and so they funnel all of those to me and say, hey, take a look at this, or this might make a good topic or subject, and then we kind of work out what would be something that we could create that could kind of move to all the different platforms: the e-newsletter, the TV show, YouTube videos, the blog, different things like that. So development came up as a broad thing, or as a encompassing topic to discuss. And by development, we meant personal development. What does personal development look like, particularly towards an entrepreneurial end? So what I talked about previously before was defining development, and then the second episode was about what development is for you, or what it looks like, as well as with some personal examples for myself, so that you could kind of compare those and chart your own course. The third aspect of development for myself has been not simply just changing my mindset, but expanding my mindset of what I openly and I constantly, and I can offer this to you too, hopefully, what I don't know, what I am confused about, what I have yet to garner information or experience about. So I'm constantly experiencing the I don't know-ness of pretty much everything in relationship to what I'm doing. And I've been doing this television show it's going on, we're almost into year 5, we're entering year 4, and it was about a year before then when it was in different levels of production and thinking about what it would be at and where it would be at. So that took time. So this is, and I've always wanted it to be kind of small, kind of intimate, kind of something that was kind of a one-on-one discussion, where you send in questions, maybe I'll work out some caller things, telephone call in, and then I kind of answer them or pull them together into amalgamated or a conglomerate of answers. There was the push, so I'll talk about a bit of the personal context and content and context of development. So there was the personal push to people are really what's the word? We've done shows about brainwashing on television. So people are very, very invested. We'll use invested as a broad word. Invested in media and in television. And when I saw this, or when I see this, or what I thought about it before, was that if I did something like this, I wanted it to be educational, valuable, thoughtful. I wanted to give you information. I wanted to give you help in trying things out for yourself, wherever you were at, whatever you were developing for yourself. So I didn't want it to be simply focus on do this or do that or be this way. And I didn't want to absolutely just talk to lots of different kinds of people just about their everyday experiences. So I've been very, very controlled about talking to people even, because I wanted to make sure that I was essentially bringing you distilled, filtered information that was useful, more so than just entertaining. So kept it small, kept it a little intimate, have had some guests on, have designed some different things to do with some guests, have designed some different things to do with some videos to bring information, so that it's similar. That's a comfortable way to be here. It's similar to a class in a sense, but it's also an intimate discussion, a level of mentoring. And at the same time, you're also mentoring me in how to do this with your response and with your feedback of what works, what doesn't work, questions, different things like that. So that was my initial thought around this. To also, in development, the 21st century. Where is teaching going? What will teaching look like? And to some degree, you can look at things like Phoenix Online, or there are MIT courses, there are courses from Princeton, there are courses from Harvard, there's Coursera, there's a whole different range of free courses online teaching, where essentially you film lectures and you go even deeper into developing classes, academic classes, where people can interact. Online teaching. So I had thought, I've told the story before, and I was at a job and I was teaching vocational computer certification stuff. And also there's a heavy life development component to it. And the offer became we could expand this throughout the SUNY system and videos like this, except there was a video system within the smartboard, a big visual display thing, where they could put a camera like this into it and then film me essentially teaching my classes. So, luckily, what I will say in development is that I was beginning to think about the value of my work. And in development, you have to start considering not just the value that's been placed upon your work, but the value of your work. So I started considering, well, what is my teaching worth? So then I think it was something like 80 students I had gone through within that short period of time. And they were working with me for like 6 months at a time, longer than a normal semester. And what their outcome would be. Their projected outcome was to be able to be trained well enough to apply for a job based upon the skill level, if all things were working out right, of about $36,000 a year. So if you round it off to about 100 students, essentially my work was to be worth $3.6 million with those 100 students. So that I was like, so I'm one person, and I am garnering, manufacturing, churning into this system to create this number. Okay, that's good. I was in no way being paid $3.6 million. In fact, I was lucky at what that be, maybe way less than 10% of that. Okay, so that when they said to me, we want to replicate your work, or we want to film you and then replicate that in 33 other locations through the video system, I was like, well, gee, if you replicate that, then that's 10, 36, that's close to $100 million value. and you're paying me about 80 something thousand a year. How does that work? How does that work? So, in development, you must know your value. Even if people haven't yet ascribed that value to you. Okay, another example. And I've been thinking about this for years around teaching, that if I am to instruct somebody, train somebody, help create an evolution in someone of an ability to do something, to become something of value or of commensurate or of trading currency resource value, then what is my payment on the front end? What does a heart surgeon get for fixing a heart so that a person's life can go on? So they start measuring the value of their life, and based upon how they value their life, then they're willing, or their insurance company says, hey, that doctor is worth such and such for their amount of time, for their billable hours. And I was like, well, teaching is essentially the same thing, that I am expected as a teacher to ingrain, show, instruct, direct, develop someone, a group of people, to a point to be able to do something. Yet, I'm paid in a one-to-one ratio. So, I've spoken before about Robert Kiyosaki. It was supposed to be really helpful here to have all of my books nearby. Of course, I never thought of what would happen if the stuff was a mess. So all of my Rich Dad, Poor Dad books are right up there. There's like 20 of them. Actually, I think there's 27 of them. And so one of the things that he talks about is the ratio, that in order to develop yourself, to change your mind, to go somewhere, you have to understand your ratio to value. So if I am one person working at one job, collecting one paycheck, my ratio is 1-to-1. Because that's all I am. However, if I'm one person and I write a book, so I write a book, or let's use a television show as an example first. I'm one person, and there's a viewership of this. So approximately the viewership is somewhere between, depending upon how much push work I do on the show and pushing out the videos and to YouTube and Hi-Fi and Sleepo and Metacafe, as well as being broadcast in New York City and the tri-state area and then sending it around to other stations. It can pretty much 500,000, let's say 500,000 as our round number of viewers for the show. That, in a bigger TV pond, is really nothing. Or it is, you're not interesting till you hit the millions. And even then, you might still get canceled. So, I'm doing something here that has some level of value. So I'm one person generating out to perhaps 500,000 people. So my ratio of value, if you find this a value and you use something in here, like figuring out your own value system or your own evaluation system or value system of yourself, then the ratio multiplies a little bit. So maybe 10 people, maybe 100 people, maybe 1,000 people will consider this and start applying some of these thoughts to it and develop themselves. So one has suddenly helped 1,000. Now, maybe this is only for a short period of time, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours, maybe a week or two, because you keep needing to develop and work on stuff and practice to arrive at a level of mastery. But it is increasing my value out in the world. I'm no longer just doing 1-to-1 ratios. I'm now doing 1 to 1,000, 1 to 100. The blog, I think it's 66,000. That it does, that it's up to now. So that's one thing that I've created, or it's multiple things on the blog. I think it's 600 posts, and 300 or 400 of them are constantly in circulation. So one person, 400. So I created 400 little soldiers, and those soldiers go out. So maybe I create one television show, and that goes out once a week. Maybe I create one blog on average, generally averages about every other day per month. So let's say that's 15. So 15 little creations go out with my thoughts. I write books. So each one of those books goes out, and in the back of those books is information about the other books. So every book essentially advertises all of the other books. So I'm constantly creating this base of development, and I really had to think about this. One of the things I talked about before was that I have, can't quite see it a little bit over here, is I have a whole, it's like a row of this, but of notebooks. So I keep my development notebooks, my longhand notebooks, my planning notebooks, all different kinds, pads. I'm always stopping in different stores and picking up a little something, a little pad or something, different ways to chart my development. Let's see, there's actually one in one of my bags. This is the great thing I want to do a little bit more intimately, because sometimes it's hard to abstractly speak about stuff in a studio or bring everything to the studio. So, development book, 2013, and this is so there's one before this, and there'll be several after it. So I'm always developing. My first kind of development book, this is kind of fun, is I got this nice leather-bound book, and what I do in it, so I would recommend that whatever you're trying to develop, you get a development book, and you start writing down what your ideas are, what they should look like. This is essentially stuff about, let's see if I can hold it right, I'm looking at the viewer screen, about books and different things that I'm thinking about, what notes on books, just a lot of, and I even use it a little bit, okay, so this is kind of what a multimedia platform looks like, to my thought of what a multimedia platform looks like. Or at least to the Kyle Phoenix stuff of what a platform will look like for me. So this has probably been about 2 years, 3 years of writing in the development notebooks. You must write down, you must record your thoughts, you must design. It's like you're writing the future. You're literally writing the future through your own thoughts, through working stuff out. So I can go back and I can look at stuff and I'm like, that didn't work, or I didn't like that, or that was a naive projection, or no, I'm going to change the title. And I've had to start organizing the development books so that I can go right to where I'm at in my thought process. So what you want to do is you want to understand your value. And now you want to start charting stuff down. You want to start writing stuff out. I even kind of use them as a little bit of, I have a separate journal where I write about personal stuff and stuff that I'm going through. But I kind of have a business journal where I write about business thoughts. Is this working? Is this not working? Do I want this to work? What does it take to start a radio show? In addition to a television show, how does this serve the whole pie or the whole purpose? How do the books serve that? What are the books about? What are the fiction going to be about? What's the nonfiction going to be about? What's the educational stuff going to be about? How do they all serve the pie? What's the timeline for the production of everything? What's the editing? When does it have to be to the publisher? When does it have to be to the printer? When does the back and forth that happens in the editorial process, all of that, and it goes back and forth and it goes back and forth. So just when I think it's done and I think, okay, a day or two and it's going to be good, it comes back and we go back on it. And so 1 or 2 days turns sometimes into a week or to a month of just getting it just right, to look just right, to feel just right, for all sides to agree that it physically works in the context of a book, and to some degree in the context of a television show, of getting this published or getting this broadcast. So you need a development system, a book, to get you to the next step, which is a system. So I'm able to, I have my own experience to relate to this. I'm able to see that I had to designed, and it's not perfect. It's good. It's good in the sense that I've been able to sustain it aside from my life, because of course I have a life and, career and school and all different kinds of things that I'm managing, and family and relationships at the same time. So I'm constantly looking at how can I slowly build this thing without teetering the rest of my life. So then you need a system. What is the system for doing this? So the system for the television show is 1 episode a week. So how many episodes do I tape at a time? Sometimes I tape 2-3 episodes at a time. What do I tape them about? What do I schedule they're about? I have Excel spreadsheets where I keep my topics kind of straight. What was that show about? What was this show about? What's emails that have mentioned stuff, so I put little notes of that. I have a whole thing of topic ideas. So you start having to have systems to stuff. Same thing to the books, same thing to the possibility of a radio show. How is it different from a television show? Is it just a television show? Because there are some shows that actually just do that they film the radio show and it goes out on, it just splits on 2 different branches. So is that good? Does that work? Does that not work? What's good and bad about that, the pros and the cons? So that's the next step in the development system. Valuation, writing stuff down, scheduling, and processing systems. Let's see. I would say that is the most intimidating because it's the least fun creative. It's a form of creation, it's a form of creativity, but it's not the same kind of fun creativity. So that generally people rebel from the systems and the process of doing stuff. But I can tell you that once you get some level of process down of how to do stuff, and then backup systems, like one of my cameras broke, so I'm using my backup camera. Once you start having those things in place, you're able to do more and more and more. So someone sent me an email recently. They're like, well, we see you just everywhere. We just see, little snippets and lines, and, there's a blog here, and you're commenting on something over there, and there's a TV show over there, and there's a book over here, and it's just slowly, it's like, yeah, but it's, that started from kind of, riding a bike or pushing a windmill in 2008. Just pedaling. And at first it was a little bit of nothing. And then it was a little bit more than nothing. And then it was a little bit more than a little bit more of nothing. It slowly became bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's not even as big as people with a massive budget behind it or a deep, I don't have a deep, famous or fame interest from it. It's just kind of an extension of my work. So all of those things I'm slowly becoming aware of. But as I become better at my systems, I'm able to just push one thing out and it goes into 10 different venues. So your systems, your process will expedite your development for other people to see your development, for you to try things out, for you to send things out, for you to get some attention, for you to get some support, for you to find mentorship, for you to find new information for stuff. So now I can slowly push stuff out. I have more time sometimes to work on the quality of stuff or the quality of the thought of stuff behind whatever I'm creating, and then push it out, and I have more channels to make it happen, and slowly more and more channels are expanding. And that's really what then becomes the next part of development, is figuring out in the development process and system stages, channels and distribution. I have to figure out the distribution of a book, the distribution of a television show, the distribution of videos. It's not here, I think it's behind there. There's a book, The Business of Media, of understanding all the different distribution systems that are in media, video on demand, DVDs, books, ebooks. So I have a checklist in my development book of TV show, videos, books, DVDs, video on demand, radio show, email, blog, e-newsletter, magazine, who publishes what, how much costs what, how much how much essentially everything is. So what I'm going to do is next show, we're going to talk about budgeting. Budgeting time, budgeting self, budgeting money into development of a project. So, as always, I'm your host, Kyle Phoenix, and this has been the Kyle Phoenix Show. We'll be talking about development. And so far as what we have covered the development of self in relationship to your project. So figuring out what your value is, calculating what your value is, and we'll go a little bit deeper into that in budgetary system, as well as figuring out process, systems, figuring out how to develop those all into channels and distribution. So a lot of that really falls into our next section, into budgeting. So next episode, we'll talk about not just money, but the currency of what you're doing back and forth. And I'll relate some struggles and stories and where I'm at and what I'm looking at doing. As always, I'm your host, Kyle Phoenix, Kyle Phoenix Show. You can email me at kylephoenixshow@gmail.com. Check us out, kylephoenixsite.com. Just type in Kyle Phoenix to Google. Kyle Phoenix on YouTube videos, where you can see the videos, lots of great instructional stuff, some reviews, Kyle Phoenix blog. You can check that out as well. Kyle Phoenix on Facebook. See their Kyle Phoenix pages concerning all of the different books and stuff that I'm doing, as well as on the website. You can also see my schedule for where I'm at and where different things are appearing. As always, thank you so much for watching the show. Enjoy. And if this is coming out on a simulcast, because there's a note to make sure that I keep on repeating this in this little end blurb, you can also pick it up on Eminem.org. It's Friday at 12 midnight. Channel 56 on Time Warner Cable. But if you go to MNN.org, if you're someplace else, that's how you can find the Kyle Phoenix Show. Just click on it that time, and it just pops up on your computer screen. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.